Mic check, 1 2 1 2. I think we're good, guys. All right, let's get back into it. Or actually, let's just get into it. So, lot to talk about today if you're a Braves fan. Lot to talk about today if you're a Major League Baseball fan. Arbitration is over. The deadline was last night at 8 o'clock. We're going to jump into what the Braves did, what they didn't do, more importantly, and tell you kind of what I think is going to happen because of it. So, the biggest news on the day is that Adam Duvall was non-tendered. This surprised a lot of Braves fans, including myself. I thought I don't have an explanation for it, necessarily. Adam Duvall hit 16 homers last season. He had 33 RBIs. He was projected to get something around 5 to 7 million in arbitration. The Braves did keep Dansby Swanson, Mike Soroka, and Max Fried. None were really surprises. But the ones that were surprises were Luke Jackson, Grant Dayton, and Johan Camargo. That's what seemed to surprise most fans. And it probably wouldn't have been such a problem with fans if the Braves had kept Adam Duvall. Just because of the results that Luke Jackson had last year, Camargo's had since 2018, and Grant Dayton, of course he had a decent year last year, so it's not really terrible. But the Luke Jackson move is what stood out to me, going alongside Adam Duvall. If Adam Duvall had just not been, had Adam Duvall had just been non-tendered alongside these guys, I don't think it would have been so much of a problem. Luke Jackson, for perspective here, had a 6.48 ERA last year in 19 games. And he wasn't even on the postseason roster, so keep that in mind. I was really, really surprised at this move. And that is something that if you watch me regularly, I will defend Alex Anthopoulos. I will defend the Braves organization for any decision they make on most days. This one surprised me, just because of how well Adam Duvall played last year. Adam Duvall was third in homers, I believe, maybe second in homers in the National League, behind Marcell Ozuna. Okay? Marcell Ozuna is going to get absolutely paid this year, and he deserves to. And if Adam Duvall were a free agent right now, he would already be getting paid. I really don't think that this is the end of these discussions. I think the Duvall the Duvall idea is going to be out there. You know as well as I do how good of a player he is in the field, at the plate, in the clubhouse. By all accounts, he's a great teammate. I really, really don't think this is the end. With that said, anything could happen. I think Duvall wants to come back to the Braves. I think he truly found himself with the Braves. So I really think that his best year so far has been with the Atlanta Braves. He has a chance to win a World Series with the Braves. There are plenty of reasons to come back to Atlanta for Adam Duvall for less money. With that said, why risk that? Why would you not just pay the man 5 to 7 million when numbers like that, usually get you 23 million? Like Josh Donaldson did a couple years ago, like Marcell Ozuna will likely get this year. He's a great player. If he doesn't come to Atlanta, he will go somewhere. And I think that Adam Duvall is going to be consistent for some years. And yeah, I know if you're on the other side of things, if you don't agree with me, if you don't really care that Adam Duvall is gone, hear me out here. I know you got Drew Waters in the waiting. I know that, I've heard the names George Springer. I've heard the names, Kyle Schwarber. And for weeks now, I've told you that I want it to be Duvall. If it's not going to be Ozuna, if there is no DH, I want it to be Adam Duvall for multiple reasons. Going out and getting a free agent, you're risking a lot. You're risking whether that guy's going to be as good as he was last year, good as the years prior before that. You're risking whether or not he's going to mix in well with the teammates that he's going to now have. And moving to a new town and playing well is not particularly easy. Shane Green is an example of that, coming from Detroit, being an absolute stud in Detroit, and then having a tough time when he first got to Atlanta. It's not necessarily an easy thing to do. So to sit here and try to tell me that go out and get another free agent, I don't agree. Not to mention, go find me a free agent that put up those amount of numbers for that amount of money. I guarantee you can't do it. My brother actually came in here a few minutes ago. What about Kyle Schwarber? What about Kyle Schwarber? I said, okay, what were his numbers last year? He read them off to me. They were somewhat comparable. In 2019, I think Kyle Schwarber had 30 homers, which is a good year. Adam Duvall, prorated last year, would have had 43. Okay? Would have had 43 homers had there been 162 games. So you can't tell me that his numbers weren't good. You can't tell me that. And you can't tell me that you're going to find me a better deal on a better player. I just don't think it's going to happen. So unless the Braves go get him for less money, which is a possibility. Alex Anthopoulos works in mysterious ways, so it is a possibility. But I still think that was the best option that the Braves had. I'm going to get into some of your guys' comments in a minute, so you can keep them coming. I will get to them, but I got to make this clear. Alex Anthopoulos, I guarantee, has a plan. With that said, this is not how I would have done it. So this is a different. This is a difference in the way we're thinking. For like one of the first times ever since Alex Anthopoulos has come to the Braves, I have never questioned something he did. Never questioned a decision he made. Not keeping Donaldson made sense. If he hadn't kept Marcell Ozuna, it would have made sense. Because you have plenty of guys that can fill that role. Adam Duvall right now, I think, is one of the guys that is irreplaceable at the moment. That could change. You do have Drew Waters. You do have guys that can play the outfield. But right now, your outfield would consist of Pache. It would consist of Ronald Acuna. I think on opening day, both Pache will be in the outfield on opening day. If not, I would be surprised. With that said, other than that, you have Ender Inciarte. You have Austin Riley, Johan Camargo, maybe, that can fill that gap in the outfield. And potentially Marcell Ozuna. But there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. What this tells me is the Braves are either one of two things. The Braves are either going to try to go get someone else, or they're going to try to get Adam Duvall for less money. But my thing is this. MLB has left the Braves, along with the other 29 teams, in a sticky situation because there is no guarantee that the National League will not have a DH next year. There is no guarantee that they will or they will not. So the Braves are kind of left in the dark, and I assure you that had they known that there was going to be a DH next year, they probably would have picked up Adam Duvall. Because if you get Adam Duvall in left field, then you open up the perspective of Marcell Ozuna at DH, along with any other free agent that can just be a bat. But to me, I would much rather keep Duvall for all the potential in the world. I think he's one of the most consistent bats this past season. I think it's frankly very strange that he was not re-signed for that amount of money. Now look, had it been $10 million, I can maybe see it, but you're talking 5 to 7, and you're going to give Luke Jackson 1.9. I just don't see that logic. And again, I don't typically say that. I don't typically come after a general manager. I don't typically come after an organization, and I'm not going to. Again, we don't know everything. But until we know about the DH, you're going to see stuff like this, uncertainty just around the league in general. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Now, the DH, like Ronnie says down there, the DH will be decided hopefully somewhere around winter meetings, late this week or early next. So, again, I don't see the logic here, but, I question a lot. But we'll see. Jameson, I appreciate the super chat, but I can't see your message for some reason. So, but yeah, I think that there's a lot to question here. And I wonder what the Braves are going to do. I think that there is a definite case for free agents in the outfield now, for good reason. But look, you guys pick on me for liking Duvall so much. Okay, I liked Duvall a lot. I liked him with the Braves. I liked him as a player. He quietly did his job, and he did it well. And that is something that, that I really wonder. I need a why. I would personally like to hear an explanation myself. So that's kind of where I'm thinking on that. The other thing that I would like to mention, Johan Camargo got arbitration, which surprised a lot of people. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, it surprised me. Just because of how much he has struggled since 2018, since that breakout year in 2018. It's obvious that Austin Riley is more than likely going to be the third base of the future. I think Johan Camargo wants to play every day. I don't think he's going to be able to do that on the Braves unless potentially he has a couple of outfield appearances. I think he's more of a utility guy, which begs the question about Charlie Culberson. And I hate to bring up more sadness here, but Charlie Culberson was, of course, not, he didn't get another deal. So the difference here with Charlie is that for the past few years, we've pretty much counted on the fact that he's going to get another minor league deal. With Johan coming back, I question whether or not that happens. Just from a money standpoint, I really do. We're going to have to wait and see, but I hope that I hope they figure it out soon, because I would really like to see where we're going to stand once the season starts. But a lot to be excited about. Marcell Ozuna potentially coming back. Freddie Freeman hopefully getting a deal pretty soon. We're going to have a clarification on whether or not we're going to have a DH, hopefully by next week. And I think we really need that. I think baseball needs that. I think every team in MLB needs that, especially the National League. So we're going to have to wait and see. All right, let's get into some of you guys' questions real quick. Can't see the logic on this move. I agree with you, Tyler. I'm right there with you. Could Duvall's groin injury be worse than we thought? I don't think so. I think you read into that a little bit much. I think they may know something we don't, but I don't think that's the case. I really think it is more about the money, and I think we're going to have to wait and see what happens, but I don't think that's the case at all. Andrew, I miss Duvall already. Yeah, me too, brother. Why would they ever pay Luke Jackson $1.9 million? Matthew, the only thing I could see here is that potentially he can eat innings. Other than that, he did not have a good year. He was left off the postseason roster, to very positive reaction of Braves fans on social media. He was left off the postseason roster, and I don't think he's reliable. And maybe he could. He was not that bad in 2019, and I know that is not really a popular comment, but he wasn't bad in 2019. If you go look at the numbers, I think he had around a 3 ERA. So he wasn't terrible, but this past season was miserable. So I was very surprised to see it. I thought they could get out of that deal with him this year. So, yeah. Does the Duvall non-tender make the Braves more likely to acquire a good hitting left fielder, maybe Schwarber or Jock Peterson? I mentioned this a minute ago. Yeah, it definitely does. But I particularly don't like it personally, just because I don't think either one of those guys are going to give you the numbers that Duvall had while also giving you the price. I just don't. I personally just don't. That's big brain. We might be getting Johan and Jackson and the other people. Then we can make a big trade for a big name. True, but why not get a free agent? There's plenty of them out there. That's my only thing there, Bash Brothers. We don't know if Duvall was in on the decision because this lets Duvall test the waters, and if the water is too cold, then he can re-sign with the Braves. The platoon situation could be why. I see that. That's kind of been talked about a lot lately, but I just don't see that. Maybe he wanted to test the waters. Maybe that was a conversation they had. But if it's me, you got the guy on arbitration for $5 to $7 million. Maybe just bump the price range up. I mean, the guy proved himself tremendously this year with an excellent year, one of the best in the game. And I don't know. Doorbell, LOL Chipper is at the door. That is actually my dinner. I don't know what we're having, but that is actually my dinner. They could be making room for Pache. I disagree. The room for Pache is already there. In the outfield right now, you got Markakis, Ender, Pache, Acuna, Duvall, and that's really about it. And potentially Ozuna. So the room for him's already there. You get rid of Markakis potentially, make him a bench bat or whatever you're going to do with him. You got Acuna and Pache guaranteed in the outfield. You throw in Duvall, it's a lot more consistent, and it also has more of a veteran approach. I think that the question would be better answered with Drew Waters in that regard. Maybe they're making room for Drew Waters, or maybe that's their backup plan. But I don't know. I just don't know there. The DH needs to be a done deal. I completely agree. The DH has been, to me, I think it wasn't timed out very well. I think it would be better that the arbitration deadline was after we found out whether or not there's going to be a DH, because there have certainly been conversations about it, and these teams are having to basically play both sides of the fence, and I don't think that's fair to anyone. But once we find out, I think the Ozuna deal will either happen or not happen. And I think a lot of these questions will be answered. That will happen around December 7th through 8th, hopefully, sometime next week. Camargo is the man. He can be great at third base if Riley gets hurt. Camargo's a good player. But the problem with Camargo is this. He's a better hitter when he plays every day. He has a better attitude when he plays every day. But third base is just not his spot because he's so good elsewhere. He's a decent shortstop. He's a decent second baseman. He's a decent outfielder. He can play so many positions potentially. And because of that, the team he plays on knows that, so they look at him as more of a utility guy. And there's nothing wrong with being a utility guy, but I don't think third base is the only spot for him. I agree with you, he can play a great third base if Austin Riley gets hurt. I just question if that's the spot he wants to be in, which is why I was kind of surprised that he was signed to the Braves again, because I do think he wants to play every day. NXG Days, did you redo everything behind you? Way to point out the obvious. Way to point out the elephant in the room. Yeah, in case you haven't noticed, we are remodeling it here. Doing a couple things, making this more of a friendly neighborhood to actually do more stuff like this. A little bit easier to stream. I'm set up a little bit better. My microphone's a little further away from me, and the lighting's a little better. So this is new. This shelf right here is brand new. My desk is new. This right here is a piece I've had for a long time that I had nowhere to put it. That is every Braves Hall of Famer plus Dave Justice and Dale Murphy and Andrew Jones. Everyone else, I believe, is in the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, we redid everything. I really like it. I hope you guys, too. This is going to be a familiar... this is going to be what it's going to be for a while now. Might change a couple of things. Might fill in some gaps over here. But right now, this is what we got. Trying to make it better for next season. But, yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate you, too, Chad. All right, Jameson, Super Chat guy. My message is that I need someone to explain why we let Duvall become a free agent. Do not understand that move at all. Yeah, I agree with you there, Jameson. It's kind of what we're talking about here. I don't like it at all. I appreciate you super chatting, by the way. It really means a lot. Duvall was a personal favorite of mine last season. I thought the guy quietly played his position so well. I mean, 16 homers in 60 games, prorated out to 43, 33 RBIs, and he was a threat at the plate. He was a big reason why the offense was the way it was. I still think had we had him for the rest of the postseason last year, had he not had that groin injury, things could have been different. I hate to speak that into existence, but I truly do. We'll have to wait and see, though. I like Duvall, and I think AA does too. Duvall tests the MLB on what they think of Duvall. Yeah, I think that those conversations could be had. But again, I still don't like it. I still would rather you be open about it. I really like an explanation, as bad as that is to say. Dayton was projected to make $800K in arbitration. Jackson was projected to top out at $1.9 million. Why not just offer them arbitration and leave it at that? Seems like they paid more than what they had to. Yeah, I agree there, Matthew. I completely agree. $1.9 million was a lot on Luke Jackson. Grant Dayton, you only bumped it up by $100,000, but maybe that's because of the bullpen. Of course, we're losing Mark Melanson. Of course, but I don't like either one of those moves per se. If you don't get Duvall. Again, had we gotten Duvall, had we just signed him to arbitration, had it been $10 million, I don't think we would be sitting here right now answering these questions. I don't think the outrage, per se, would be had right now. I think that it would be a lot more calm. I think it would be, all right, whatever. But because we didn't get Duvall, now we're analyzing every bit of, every one of these deals, and we're questioning why, this guy got this much and this guy got this much. You never really know what's going on behind closed doors, like a lot of you have mentioned in the Duvall case. But who knows? My dad thought that Duvall was a free agent this season a while back, and I corrected him. I was like, no, he's got arbitration. And that to me was like, yeah, he's coming back next year. But my dad was basically saying Duvall's going to get paid because of the year he's had. And you guys have brought up the point, maybe Duvall wanted to test the waters, And maybe, Wayne Blackman right there, Duvall will win in this. If the Braves don't get him, the guy's going to get paid. You can't tell me he won't. Ronnie, Duvall hit 6 of 16 homers in 8 days, batted 153 in the last 22 games. That's why $6 to $7 million is still a lot of money. Yeah, but the numbers he put up are looked at. That's kind of what, to me, that's why a lot of people look at him and really want it back, was the home runs. And that's what attracts all the attention typically. And I agree with that philosophy, but I get what you're saying in the last 22 games. But for the first 40, the guy was rocking. And I really wonder, like I said, I wonder what would have happened had he been in the postseason. Granted, Pache did have a pretty good one. Not a guaranteed amount of money. They could be let go at spring training for pennies. Indeed, they could. I'm assuming you're referring to Luke Jackson. Yeah, those guys are going to be vying for spring training spots. Or roster spots at spring training, rather. So it's not a done deal that they're going to be back next season. I would question that if the Braves make some bullpen deals to sure it up, like let's just say that they go get Melanson again, and a couple other arms, I don't think those guys make it. But I've seen crazier things. What if we make a move for Springer? I mentioned this a couple of minutes ago, actually. I've heard that. I've heard that since, frankly, I disagreed with it. I was the one saying I want Duvall. Because I really did, and I still do. I think that is I thought that was the simple answer, and I thought it was almost a guarantee at the time that it would be Duvall. Obviously, that has not stayed put. That is not what the Braves have chosen to do necessarily. I thought it was going to be an easy decision to keep Duvall. Obviously, not the case. So, in terms of Springer, I actually like Springer as a player. I know the Astros thing, puts a bad taste in people's mouth, and I get that. But I actually do like Springer as a player. I think he's a solid player. I do think he would mix in well with a lot of what the Braves had to offer. With that said, I still don't see a player putting up the numbers that Duvall did last year for that price. I just don't. It's a lot of money, I get that, but, I just don't see another player being able to do that. And I really think that the DH thing is a big reason as to why they couldn't make a decision. All right, let me find you guys. Do you think it is possible that Waters actually just did so well at the alternate site that they're just penciling him in to be the starting left fielder for next season? I certainly think it's a possibility. I think it is a outside possibility. I don't think it is necessarily a big possibility, but I've been thinking of that myself. The only thing I wonder with Drew Waters is, we saw him in spring training last year. He didn't shine in spring training. Didn't necessarily do terrible, but the expectations that he and Pache were right there together. I expected at the beginning of last season to see both of those guys at some point throughout this season. Obviously, with coronavirus and things like that, who knows what would have happened had it been a normal year. But we never saw Drew Waters. We saw every bit of starting pitching we had to offer in the minors, but we did not see Drew Waters, and that is because of guys like Duvall, who absolutely stood out. Markakis, who had a decent year, and of course Ronald Acuna and Pache, who outshined Drew Waters at the alternative site. I don't think he did well enough that they're penciling him in. I think he did well enough that he is their backup, more than likely. I think it is more so that the Braves are going to test the market. But again, I would rather you go get Duvall. That's just where I'm leaning at the moment. We could easily get rid of Ender. That's such a shame. Yeah, we could. But again, I don't see a point. You need Ender at the moment. They won't get rid of Ender until they, sign somebody for, to be the left fielder, if that's what they're going to do. But you need Ender at the moment. Camargo's problem is between his ears. Grow up, you are a major league player. I'm assuming you're talking about him hustling to first and things like that. Now, I will tell you, Wayne, I have interviewed Johan. I speak very highly of Johan when it comes to, my conversation with people. How was he? Johan was great to me. Very professional, very nice. Whenever he sees me at the games, he makes sure to come over and speak. He's waved to me a couple times, things like that. I cannot speak negatively of Johan. With that said, I I will not. His problems in terms of his attitude are problems we see with a lot of young players. I think I would like to see him hustle the first more. I'll give you that. But other than that, I don't like to speak negatively of people like that. To be honest, I like Hechavarria better than Johan. Hechavarria struggled this year defensively, and I think that's what Johan gives you. And a decent bat. Johan, I believe Johan in that game 3 hit a homer. Or almost did, one or the other, in the game 3 versus the Dodgers this season. He's not a bad bat, and he's decent in the field, which is why I think he's going to be looked at as a utility guy. I heard Camargo is playing winter baseball. I believe he is. I looked at his social media the other day, and he was training or something. I believe he is playing winter baseball somewhere. I couldn't tell you where. Man, I need more autographs. Well, yeah, me too. I need more of them too. I appreciate you and all that you do, Chad. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you watching. Make sure to tell your friends. Have we re-signed Dansby? Yes. Let me go back through this. Yes, we did. Braves are going to keep these players. Dansby Swanson, Johan Camargo, Mike Soroka, Max Fried, Luke Jackson, and Grant Dayton. The only player to be non-tendered is Duvall, which again is why I think most of this negative reaction is happening. Had we non-tendered Luke Jackson and Grant Dayton, and kind of presented it in a way that the Braves were going to go out and make moves, on all these different aspects of the team. Maybe I'd feel differently, but I don't. Could COVID be the reason for not keeping Duvall? Nick, I'm going to need a more explanation on that. I don't really know what you're trying to ask me there. Just basically tell me, why would COVID be the reason? Hechavarria is not better than Camargo. Look it up. Yeah, I would agree. His batting average was not that good. Yes, he hit home runs, but he struck out a lot. Great move. I disagree with you. I disagree with you there, Eddie. His batting average did tail off towards the end of the season. I believe Ronnie mentioned it earlier. 153 in the last 22 games. But the home runs were up there, and he was a consistent bat for, I believe, the first 2/3 of the season. He did tail off towards the end. Maybe it'll be a great move for years to come. Maybe 2 years from now, we'll look at it and be like, wow, we dodged a bullet. But I don't think so. I think he's found himself. I think he's found the type of hitter he is, and I think he's going to get better as years go on. He had his best year this past season. And granted, it was only 60 games. But 60 games told us a lot about what we had last year. And I think it told us a lot about Adam Duvall as well. Maybe the Duvall non-tender means the Braves are going to sign both Ozuna and Springer when the DH comes back. Is that wishful thinking? No, it is not. That has been talked about a lot. Ozuna is a guy that everybody wants to bring back. Alex Anthopoulos has said he'd like to bring Ozuna back. I believe Freddie Freeman said he'd like to get Ozuna back. Everybody wants Ozuna back. But then again, a lot of people wanted Josh Donaldson back as well. And those two have been compared more than a lot of any other players. They don't even play the same position. But they have been compared. Just remember this when it comes to Marcell Ozuna. Everybody was upset when Donaldson left. Then when we signed Ozuna, everybody was upset. This guy's not going to fill that role. 2020 later, and we're sitting here wanting to bring back Ozuna. He was a fan favorite. So it's not wishful thinking. I think that is certainly a possibility. Ozuna more so than Ozuna and Springer. But I really don't know about that one. Ender will be a trade piece. Could be. I've thought that for years. I have thought that for years that he would be a trade piece. I thought he would be traded for Shane Green when Shane Green came to the Braves. I was right about one half of that. What's up, Atlanta Kid? I hope they aren't thinking Riley at left field and Camargo at third. I don't think so. I think Camargo is going to be utility. But who knows? Tej, yes, we can still sign him for cheap. For cheaper, rather. I think he's testing the waters, potentially. But yes, we can still sign him. Are Soroka, Fried, Minter, and Swanson already signed, or are they still going to have to go through arbitration? No, they are signed, I believe. I don't know what the deals were, but they are signed. They are not going to have to go through arbitration. Arbitration, the deadline was yesterday at 8 o'clock. That is it. That is all of arbitration. They are signed. And it's not a surprise that any of those guys are being brought back. Soroka, Fried, especially, Dansby, especially. None of those were really surprises. Minter had a great year, and he's a Brave at heart. So, yeah. Duvall had a great year. No reason to get rid of him. Completely agree. When will we know about the DH situation? I believe that will be announced on next week at some point. at winter meetings. It was going to be in Dallas, to tell you the truth. It was going to be in Dallas this year, winter meetings was, but the in-person aspect was canceled. I will still be in Dallas, actually, because I had already had the flight, the days off, and the hotel reservation. So I will be in Dallas this coming up weekend. I don't know what will be there, but I'm going to find out. But that is when we will find out, somewhere along the way throughout winter meetings, hopefully. I hope it doesn't last longer than that. Of course, it's a very different kind of topic. I hope that is where they make the decision, because, frankly, teams have to know that to be able to find out what they want to put on their team. You can't go get a DH that doesn't field any position and then stick him at third base. So there's a lot of questions to be answered. Freddie does love big hitters behind him. Yes, he does. Indeed, he does, and it helped him out a lot this year in winning the MVP. Not only was Duvall's offense key for the Braves, but also his defense helped us win Game 1 against the Reds. I agree. Duvall had a lot of good plays against the Reds. I remember a specific play earlier in the year that made me go, "Wow, he's actually a good fielder." Is when he reached up over the wall and caught a homer, and it was a very impressive play. But he had a lot of plays like that in the outfield that I think are overlooked. So I agree with you, Nick. Could COVID financial problems with the Braves, such as the Phillies and many teams are dealing with, be the reason they decided to save money and cut Duvall? Potentially. But I think it would be more. I think that's more so along the Darren O'Day route. I think they were trying to free up money early. I don't think that's the case now. I think they would have done it much earlier. I just don't think that's the case. I appreciate the question though, but yeah, I don't think that's the case. Congratulations on your new gig. I appreciate that. I've actually, in case you don't know, I guess I'll just say it real quick. I've worked in television for about 3 years now. I've been production, I've been on air, a little bit of everything I've done in television. My company has just now merged with another. I am training to direct newscasts at the moment. That is kind of what I do now. I get paid to do that, and it's a lot of fun. And it allows me to show off my creative side. Working in news has allowed me to be able to figure out most of how to work this stuff. YouTube, the streaming device, the set I used to work on with the on decks behind me was actually at my old station. So that will no longer be a thing, more than likely. But there's a lot of uncertainty with that as well. But I do appreciate that. I truly do. You and I both thought that about the Shane Green trade. Yeah, I believe we did, didn't we? Is Morton the pitcher he was during the regular season or the pitcher he was during the playoffs? We will have to find out. Glad you're getting more digs. Glad you're getting more gigs. You deserve it, brother. I appreciate it. I truly do. So are we keeping Ozuna? That is a question for Alex Anthopoulos. I think there's a lot that's going to happen with that behind closed doors. I think the DH is still a question that has to be answered before we know that. But we're going to have to find out. I think yesterday at 8 o'clock was the only deadline for teams to offer arbitration, not the deadline to actually go through the process. I think the players offered arbitration are going to go through it later. Yes, that is true. Duvall had numerous sliding catches this year. Yes, he did. I'm going to wrap this up, guys, so if you have a question, get it in. Super chats are appreciated. We have to get used to this new Moneyball system. It wins games, but you can't expect to keep players anymore. Go Braves. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with you. The Moneyball system is something that has taken over since it was first introduced by the A's. It does win games, and it is very effective. And I think that is a lot of the same principles that Alex Anthopoulos has brought to the Braves. And they kind of had it before, but now it's more. I think it's more recognized by us. That's what's happening. It's not just the fact that we don't want to keep X, Y, or Z. It's the fact that we're trying to win games, and we can't win games while also paying their salary. That is something I appreciate with the Braves. It is. I've said that numerous times on this channel. I appreciate the fact that the Braves, don't just go after anyone and everyone, and they don't just keep these high priced guys, and they also don't pay $300 million for one player. I appreciate that because it does allow for more more options, and that's something that I don't think is appreciated enough. Are you monetized yet over YouTube? Thanks to you guys, yes I am. I'm looking a lot more, and there's really just not much to talk about. I will be doing some more things that I'll talk about towards the end of this broadcast, but yeah, I am monetized. How bad was Duvall's oblique injury? Maybe Atlanta knows something about his health that we don't. That was mentioned earlier. I talked about it, but I don't think that. I don't think that's what this is. I think he'll have plenty of time to recover. Not to mention it's a 162-game season next year and probably a much longer season. I think he'll have plenty of time to recover. I don't think that's what's going on. And not to mention, I think that would be pretty public. I don't think a team's going to sign him without... You're not going to sneak anything past the team. There's a pending physical for a reason. And of course, that's the first thing they're going to look at when it comes to Adam Duvall. You ever been down here to Rome for a single A game? No, but I have always wanted to. I've never been to a Gwinnett game. I've never been to a Rome game. I have never been to any minor league Braves game, with the exception of spring training. I've never been able to go. I'm usually so focused on the major leagues that I don't get to. But next prospect that comes along that makes me interested, I will more than likely go. Drew Ball is a guy that could make me go down there and take a trip, see how much power that kid really has. But yeah, I'd like to go. What's your gut tell you about the chop in 2021? I assume you're asking me that because of that tomahawk back there. You know, people tomahawk chop, and, you know, I don't like to get into politics and, you know, social issues and things on this channel. I just don't. But I would tell you that the guy who I would listen to, the guy that I do listen to when it comes to that, is Chief Nakahoma. Because I think he is the most educated on it. I think he has every right to speak his mind on it. Chief loves the chop. Chief loves all the Indian culture that the Braves endorse. He considers it to be honorable. And he sees no issue with what the Braves do. With that said, I can't speak on what the Braves are going to do with the chop. I would personally like to see it stay. Just because I think, in a way, it's a tribute to what he brought. And, of course, he's a friend of mine, and a lot of you guys know that. You know, in terms of, you know, what the Washington football team did this year, Chief felt very strongly against them in changing their name. He felt like they should change their name. But other than that, he loves the fact that there's Indian culture in sports. And he sees no problem with it. And so that's how I typically lean because of what he's told me, the way he feels about it. So that's how I feel about it. Excited about hosting the All-Star game. I will be going. Oh, I'm going. Me and Dad are definitely going. My brother might. But yeah, I'm very excited. I'm more excited about the Home Run Derby, to tell you the truth. I want to see what balls land where and hit by who at Truist Park. You know, maybe it'll give you a new appreciation for some of these guys. Do you think Smiley will be as good as he was last year? Pitched in San Fran. Even Gossman was good there. Even Gossman. You know, Gossman doesn't get enough credit. He is the guy that threw at Jose Urena. Just always remember that. So I always appreciate Kevin Gossman. But I think Smiley is a decent pitcher. I think he's the number 5 at the moment. You know, that could change. But I think in terms of talent, he's number 5. But he's a solid number 5. He'd be a number 2 on a lot of teams. So with that said, I think he's going to be fine. The Braves seem to think he's going to get into his best years yet. For some reason. I don't know why, but they do with a lot of other things so far. Maybe. We'll see. Do Waters and Pache start opening date? Pache does. Waters, not too sure about. I don't think so. I keep hearing rumors the Braves want to sign a backup catcher. Shouldn't they just save money and roll with Contreras or Alex Jackson? I would throw in Shea Langoliers. To me, he's just as good as Alex Jackson, potentially. But we'll see. I saw Langoliers put one 430 feet over center field scoreboard in Rome 2 years ago. Yeah, the guy can hit. He's got quick hands. If you just go look him up, Shea Langoliers. If you don't know who he is, I'm sure most of you do, go look him up, Shea Langoliers. You'll be glad I told you to. I think we should trade Alex Jackson or Ender. I think we should trade both. What are the chances the Braves cut Duvall because they actually see Inciarte as a starting outfielder next season? Please tell me 0%. 0%. You're welcome. Home Run Derby is going to be awesome. My Nana wants to go with me. I got to find a safe seat for her. Braves are pretty good about that. I'm sure you'll be able to. I'm about to get out of here, guys, but I'm going to read this last comment, and then I'm going to talk about what I'm doing this Saturday, and then I'm going to get out of here. Gossman missed when he threw at Urena. I will never forgive him for that. I will. He tried. He got fined a lot of money for it, so I will forgive him. But in case you didn't hear already, I will be doing some live watch-alongs. If you don't know what a watch-along is, it is basically where me and you watch something along with each other. So I will be doing the first one. I have a schedule out. It's on my community page. You can go look at it. But the first one will be Phil Necro. A lot of you guys are excited about my Triple H one for some reason. Not really too sure why, but a lot of you guys are, and we'll go through that one, I think, about week 4. But the first one is Phil Necro. Phil Necro is a guy that I can't wait to talk to you guys about. Gonna leave the conversation for that on Saturday. I don't have a time. Stay tuned on the community page. I will give you a time. It will probably be somewhere to mid-afternoon, but I can't guarantee that yet. I don't really know my work schedule for that yet, so we shall see. I fly out Sunday morning, so I will try to do it earlier in the afternoon. That is where we stand at the moment. But we shall see. I will announce that as soon as I can. Phil Necro is a great one to talk about. Of course, he's a Baseball Hall of Famer. He's a Braves Hall of Famer. The best knuckleballer ever. I'll say it. Best knuckleballer ever. And he's been very good to me. And I will announce that as soon as I can. Phil Necro is a great one to talk about. Of course, he's a Baseball Hall of Famer. He's a Braves Hall of Famer. The best knuckleballer ever. I'll say it. Best knuckleballer ever. And he's been very good to me. And